You?
Hey, how are you doing?
Fine, thank you. Thanks for joining. I know it's really late for you.
That is, but
I'm
I'm currently so I work remotely. I'm currently at my company in another city, so
okay.
stayed later in the office.
Thank you so much for joining. We'll wait a minute, probably a minute, and get more folks joining. Hey, Niels, welcome.
Hey, Niels.
Hello, hello. Hey, Fabio. Hey, David. It's a nice, what is that? Like a pergola in the background there. It's like wooden,
Oh, it's like the office.
like arches. Oh, that's interesting.
And we got a new office. The other one had rooms, and I preferred the rooms to the wooden things, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know. The whole open office stuff. Yeah, rooms are nice.
Rooms are nice, I agree.
Yeah, you can choose to collaborate with someone, but you need to be heads down. It's good to have no distractions.
Great to see you.
Hi, Bernard.
Hi.
Welcome,
Hi,
Byron.
Byron.
Awesome. All right, let's get started. Let me give a brief reminder. The channel for anyone wanting to join. There you go. All right, so let's get started. Let me share my screen real quick. All right. Yeah, well, thank you again for joining. Welcome to what is now the inaugural Flyte Contributors meeting. The goal of this space is to try to have different or better, but at least different communication paths between every community member wanting to contribute back to the project. And also this is the one of the best opportunities to gather with the technical steering committee and the maintainers team to discuss basically the ideas that could change the project for the better. And yeah, it's open for anyone wanting to get started or discuss ideas. I'm sharing, let me share that again. The link to the agenda doc. Again, it's open, it's free for anyone to add, especially in the open mic or question section. You can add whatever you want to discuss here. So a couple of reminders. First, this meeting is being recorded and the recording will be posted in the Flyte's YouTube channel. And second thing is that Flyte is an AI and data foundation project. So this meeting basically is covered by Linux Foundation's Code of Conduct, which in summary, it's be nice to each other. You can add yourself to the attendees list, including your affiliation, totally optional, but again, it's nice, especially for folks who are just joining. So probably we'll start with that. We get to know with most of you here on the call, but just for the sake of the first meeting, probably we'll run through a quick round of intros, if you don't mind. So I'll start. Hello. Hey, Danny, Eduardo, welcome. Great to have you. Awesome. So right on time to start with the round of introductions. So I'll start right away. David Espejo, I'm with Union AI. I'm an open source developer advocate. So I kind of try to sit in the middle of open source community support and basically trying to be an advocate, try to listen to the needs of our community members and work backwards with content creation processes, etc.
Sorry, where can I add the RFC link? Or should I add on a doc?
Yeah, there's the outstanding RFC. Yeah, that's part of. It's also my question because right now I see RFCs on 2 different places. So, but if you want to discuss a specific proposal, you can add it to the open mic question section right here.
Okay.
It's a new item, and yeah, feel free to do it. Awesome. All right, who's next?
Can go next. I'm Eduardo. I'm the engineering manager for the OSS team at Union. Yeah, I guess this is it.
Might as well go next. I'm Dan Raymer. I am a backend engineer with the Union team as well. So everything like plugins, propeller, a lot of changes, IDL, standard lib, usually get pointed my direction.
Awesome.
I mean,
Hey,
work on Flyte Kit mostly.
awesome. Welcome. Could you, I don't know, I see the camera is a bit blurry. Could you check, I don't know if it's only me, but
Blurry camera, or is it?
really?
No.
Is it only me? Okay.
No, it's blurry.
Yeah, it's a bit blurry. Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you. Who's next?
I can go next. I'm Fabio. I'm an MLOps engineer at a company called Recognize, and I run, or my team and I run a platform for ML engineers to develop their models. And part of the platform is Flyte. Also introduced it. I've introduced it to this company. I've introduced it to the company that I worked at before. I've been a Flyte user for like 1.5 to 2 years. I'd have to do the math.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I can probably go next. Hi, my name is Bernard. I work at Pachama. I'm a data engineer there and also work in the platform team. So very similar, providing a platform for other people to run stuff on. Also a Flyte user for I think roughly the past 2 years or so. Before I was at BlackShark, now I'm at Pachama. Yeah.
Basically using Flyte before it was cool. That's awesome. Thank you very much. Who's next?
I can go next. So hi, I'm Byron, and I'm from LinkedIn Machine Learning Infra team, and we are currently working on migrating Flyte into our new orchestration system. And I mainly contribute to until now I mainly contribute to pod template, and then I'm currently working on the config overriding. So I provide the RFC below. Yeah, and I'm glad to share in this meeting. Yes.
Awesome. Great to have you.
I can go next. Hi, everyone. I'm Niels Bentielen. I'm basically like the in-house ML engineer person in Union. So I do like a lot of dog fooding and just like for the OSS project, recently kind of started doing more product management stuff. So just like looking at the backlog, helping Eduardo with just like direction of the project.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Cool.
Okay.
Is anyone? Okay. Welcome. Simon.
Yeah, I just joined in. So I'm Sören. I'm working. I'm a software engineer working at USU AI Services, and so we've been using Flyte for very early on since it was open sourced and for all kinds of machine learning stuff. And I actually showed what we were using Flyte for with GPUs a few weeks ago at the community sync. So yeah, glad to be here.
Awesome. Thank you for joining. Cool. Yeah, again, for folks who just joined, I'm sharing here the link for the agenda and the notes. Feel free to add to the attendees list, and also add anything you like to discuss right there in the open mic questions section. All right, next up in the agenda, it's review outstanding RFCs. This is the first meeting of this kind, and yeah, kind of the background for this. We recently introduced an update into the governance model, and we have a formal technical steering committee. In this case, we have Fabio, Bernard, Eduardo, and Niels in this call. They are all part of the steering committee. You can find not also their duties and their the scope of their support for the community, but also you can find the reminder list of maintainers and TSC members right there. We are trying to define a very clear way for everyone to contribute with specific requirements, but also privileges. So feel free to check it out. So reviewing outstanding RFCs. I see here a folder for RFCs in the repo, and most of them are kind of old, 9 months or even 2 years old. So probably that was my first question. What do we want to do with these proposals? We want to go through each one of them and validate their status, or just discuss the ones that are new in the form of PRs?
David, generally, I think everything that's been merged into this Flyte branch has already been taken care of. So I don't know if there's a lot of merit in kind of diving through the existing merged PRs. In my understanding, anything that was not merged would be useful.
Yep.
Yeah, probably the next thing is that I see PRs. I don't see a RFC label of sorts, so I'm just searching with the name. And I see just these 4 proposals, probably just a couple of them recent. Is that right? Is there any other proposal that's missing?
This is all I know about.
I don't know if the node override became like an official RFC, but I know that there's been a lot of discussion, like Byron has been like piloting even like some of the implementation with input from the community, like Rahul, who's not here, but yeah, not an official RFC, at least not in like in this format.
Okay.
I have one question.
Yeah.
What do you think about introducing a code owner's file that kind of matches the files that in the RFC folder, so that some people that are expected to leave a review get notified that they need to review this? I think that I could have looked, of course, I could have looked at these PRs for the meeting, but it would be convenient to get an email when there's something that requires attention.
That's reasonable. Great, good action item.
Ownership. Yeah, that's a great idea. I'm just taking notes. Yeah, and it's part of the work on improving the RFC process, which is something that we were going to discuss. But yeah, it makes a ton of sense. So yeah, I'm kind of getting started with this. I don't know what's happening. Okay, there we go. What's happening with my screen? There you go. Sorry, having some video issues. Finally, there you go. Okay, so the first thing right now, so probably will be to see the performance benchmarking RFC. Do we want to briefly discuss this one, introduce this one to this audience?
I can talk about it very briefly. I don't know. Half of it's already implemented. So the idea behind this was that we wanted to do a lot of work improving the observability of performance of Flyte. And that kind of put into two separate branches of, observability into metrics, and then developing a benchmarking framework as well, so that between different feature requests and things like that, we can say this is objectively faster than the other, and it's because X, Y, and Z. So the work that was done on this already is exporting runtime metrics. If you read through the RFC, it's pretty lengthy, but it breaks down metric reporting into runtime metrics, where it breaks down like execution of a workflow and categorizes each node execution, so you have a good idea of where Flyte's spending its time. And then the orchestration level metrics is more so from a Flyte side. So when it's scheduling nodes, when it's progressing through the workflow, where is it spending its time? And that had integration of OpenTelemetry into Flyte Propeller, and we've talked about like adding that into other Flyte components as well. So we have better observability into what's happening in the back end. So like I said, I think we were planning on merging this any day now. I don't know what the process looks like now, but half of this is already implemented. As it progresses through, might be working with the benchmarking stuff as well.
Okay, cool. Right. Any comment about this ongoing work? Any
Well,
question? No.
It's
Everything-
kind of
I can only
we have seen multiple members of the OSS community asking for it. So I'm extremely happy that we're finally funding this work. It might not come in the next Flyte release, which it's in 2 weeks, but definitely for the one after that, including the changes to the front end also, which will expose most of these metrics that then just talked about. So
Okay. There you go. Yeah, I'll try to take notes directly in the PR. So yeah, so everyone has information. Cool.
Can I go next because I need to leave at 1:30?
Oh yeah, sure, for sure.
Okay, so much.
Yeah, I will share the
Can you
document.
pull up my?
Or do you want to share your screen?
Oh, for sure. Oh, I don't have the permission.
Ah.
Oh, I have now.
Oh.
Okay. Oh yeah. So yeah, the problem I'm trying to solve is the config override at execution time, because for now, something like the catch and the test config are fixed at registration time. So we are trying to find a good solution for this. So let's break down some user scenario. So this is what we currently have. So we can pass a constant with override to override the config on the task. But this is what we can do now. We cannot override the reference launch plan config. Like if you want to change a task config inside of a reference launch plan, we cannot do it because we don't have a function body here. So my proposal is that we can also do a similar way, use the with override, and then specify. Yeah, I'm still deciding about this. What's the best solution? Because so currently what I'm thinking is that pass the node name and then pass the test override object to override it. Yeah. So yeah, here's the registration time, and next is execution time, because sometimes we want to override the things or config at the execution time. So here's the API I'm currently designing. So we can pass a workflow override object into Flyte remote, so we can override the workflow. Yeah, and we can also pass this by Flyte CTO. But I think the difficult thing is that how we can design this on the UI. Like, yeah, so we should have a maybe drop menu, or we can just click on the task and then change the config there. Yeah, this is the thing I want to discuss. And what we currently cannot do is that we cannot expose the config as the input for the override, because it need to be a constant. Yes, so I really need some suggestion from you guys.
If I can bring up as well right off the bat, using node IDs is might introduce some complexities here.
Yeah,
like
I agree.
dynamic workflows, like if you're iterating over a list, the node IDs aren't going to be deterministic depending on how you iterate over. We've run into this previously with like recovery of dynamic workflows and things like that. And so that might be something to keep in mind here, is that if node IDs aren't deterministic, you might be overriding the wrong task.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. And for us internally, we use a workaround. I can also show the workaround here. So we are currently, where's the code? Oh, here. So we define some special data class, like this one is for Python and this one is for TF job. And as long as we pass this special data class into as an input into the TF job, the Flyte plugins, propeller plugin will start overwriting the test template by this override. And I think
Do you
this
have a
is
fork?
Sorry?
Do you have a fork
A fork? Oh,
of
not
the
yet.
Flyte plugins, or
Flyte
what
plugin.
no, like my question is, the normal Flyte plugins TF job doesn't do that, right?
Yeah, I have a fork.
Okay, that was my
I
question.
made it by my own. So basically just override the test template by using this.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of usable in our case, but maybe not generic to the Flyte communities. Yeah.
In Byron, have you also worked on like how this idea works on the UI too? Like,
Oh, so basically we can just, for example, this is our workflow. And then we can, oh, this is just a data class. So this can be shown on the UI. And it's quite convenient to change the test config at execution time. And I think the implementation effort is much less than this one.
just like this works for like a single override, or if you're passing like the same override across all tasks, right?
Oh, what do you mean?
Like in the case where you want to, like for, in your example here, WF1, you want to set number of CPUs to like 3, and in the next task, you want to like set it to 4.
Yeah. I just need to pass another CPU integer.
Yeah, I mean, like my input, like I like the idea of having this like more generalized, like key value pair and stuff like this. If you do like my workflow like this, if say you have 3 subtasks where you want different task overrides for all of them, you need to now have 3 parameters in the workflow, right? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes.
I think it gets unmanageable, and like if you have a sub workflow that then takes some overrides, like reusing that between workflows might be a little bit, hacky and different.
Yeah.
Also, it kind of mixes workflow and task arguments with task configs that you typically set in the decorator, right?
Yeah, this is just the workaround in the short term, right, Byron? Like,
yeah,
I mean, yeah, fully got that.
RFC.
This is just a workaround for the RFC.
Yeah.
But I don't think
I would.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I would have maybe a question one step out. We use reference tasks a lot between teams. Basically, these are the artifacts that we share. And for us, a reference task is kind of a black box. So knowing about the internals of what's in the black box, kind of the proposal in the PR, would introduce coupling between the teams. So I'm wondering what the use case is, because I've kind of not seen it.
Oh, you mean why do we need the reference why do we need to override the reference workflow? Because in our case, we have a bunch of components sharing between different teams, and we will write the reference workflow usage as a document, so they will know what each parameter means. So they can. It's not a bad
Okay.
black box. We'll have a documentation about this.
Hey,
Okay.
the usage or the demonstration of reference workflow here is ancillary. Like it's probably you can imagine this apply to like a non-reference workflow, right? And it should extend very gracefully to reference, and honestly, also we should add remote workflows. So yeah, it is incumbent on, like, if you think about it, there's no like easy way to get this UX right. Like at some level, if you're going to be overriding specific nodes, you are going to have to understand the structure of the thing that you're overriding.
Yeah. How can they understand the node structure? Like,
well, that's what we were talking about, right? Like the user either has to the user who is doing the overriding has to learn about this somehow. So right, we were talking about on the runtime side, like making it potentially interactive or something, whereby we query for the nodes beforehand and interactively prompt the user or something, or the user just has to go in and like look at the code.
yeah. Yeah, I think they should either see it on UI or on CLI. We should prompt something. Yeah, I need to go to sorry. I need to leave now. I'll talk about this more next time. Okay.
Yeah, a good next step, sorry, before you leave, is you could send this as a PR to so everyone can just comment and we can continue a conversation there.
Okay, I'll do it. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks to you, Byron.
Thank you.
Cool.
Maybe one more note about this topic. So this week I or one of our engineers asked me whether they can use a task that somebody maintains internally in a Python package and can override the cache because they can override the resources, and then this didn't work. And I'll maybe on the weekend, if I find time, make a PR to just expose this one too. So if all kind of everything that you can set in a task decorator could also be set in the overrides, I think that would be cool.
Including like the cache version.
Yeah, like basically everything that you can set in the decorator should also be able, like one should also be able to set in there with overrides, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then
go on.
So that is basically, but still at registration time, right? Because you need to modify the code for that. And if I continue the thought of what it would mean to do this at not at registration time, but basically we're starting an execution in either with flight control or in the UI, then as a user, I would probably, when I get the execution spec file, maybe there could be like a way to provide overrides there, or you create an execution from the execution spec file. Or when you launch a workflow, maybe there could be a drop down that for all the tasks, but that would be complicated, right? Because the workflow can be very big, and then you would have a lot of nested drop downs to do all these overrides. Like that, probably tricky.
I mean, it could be opt-in, right? You could say you could override A, B, and C in this massive workflow.
Yeah.
Like is overridable or
The
something.
front end is a fair amount.
So from my side, it would be awesome if all things that can be set in the task decorator could be overwritten at registration time, because then we can share tasks in Python libraries internally. I'm also happy to help there. I'm not sure if I would need personally the feature to do it in the UI. Not sure. The other one is more important, I would say.
Yeah, for us too, it's important to generalize this. And actually, there is some issue. I couldn't find it right now, but there was some discussion on an issue about this. Just the general override. So for us, it's interesting, especially for GPUs. So we have the flexibility. Right now we're using hot task a lot, and we can't actually override at runtime switching to a different kind of GPU, for instance, this is quite hard. We have to re-register the task basically with a different pod spec, right? And if we had a more general way to override things now with the pod template, I think that would be quite helpful for this use case. But also, yeah, I don't know, the UI support isn't that important for us. More in general the way to be able to override these things.
Soren, weren't we also talking about? There was someone talking about, what was it called? The custom resource types in Kubernetes. Is that a thing that we were thinking about? Right? We were discussing changing the resources from an enum to allow freeform text because K8s as of 1.2.2 now supports it.
It's like
yeah.
K8s extended resources.
Extended resources, yeah.
Extended resources allowing.
So, and resources are already into overrides, so that's another way of doing it if we were to do that change. Something
Yeah. Resources are already. I'm not sure I really got it.
Resources are already enabled in override.
That's possible, yeah.
But you can only override the enum resources that we expose.
Yeah, exactly. So, and in our case, that's not enough because you can specify like the GPU type just through resources.
Yeah, but there's a competing maybe solution or something worth looking at least, which is extended resources.
Exactly. Yeah. And also one thing we just had in the RFC was this mix of kind of a workflow parameters and task config, and of course it's problematic in one sense, but on the other hand, if you change, for instance, if you change the GPU type, and you have in our case, and you have a more powerful GPU, you also want to like change the batch size in this because you have more memory or less memory, and this also affects essentially other like regular task parameters, right? So this is also quite interesting. I don't really know if there's a good solution for this, but yeah, this is something we are thinking about too.
Would at the moment, kind of adding a parameter to the workflow would work with a dynamic task afterwards, right? Because then the dynamic task could override and then build a workflow spec. So kind of that's, I think, in the docs at the moment. I've never tried, but I think that might work.
Yes, it does. But yeah,
okay,
you're forced to do it.
Yeah. Okay.
But good call out.
Yeah, it just conflates like what. There's nothing stopping you, even with the new solution. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. So.
Yeah.
So using a dynamic task, we could actually already do that then, right? Yeah.
I think at the moment you can't override the pod template, maybe, because I think there's no with overrides pod template. But once that is in, I think you could use a dynamic task, right?
Yeah. Okay. You still need the generalized way to override. Yeah. Okay. Got it.
We should be making this easier through the API because dynamic task pod template overrides isn't the right way to do it. But yeah.
Hi, gents. Anything else about this proposal? No. All right. Let me share my screen real quick. No. And we will go to the next one. Not sure if we want to discuss this one as the author is not here, Keaton. Flyte execution tags and metadata. Any comment about this one?
I have to admit I'm not prepared and didn't read it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I think the main use case, this can be used for a lot of different things. The main use case we had in mind for this is for things like ML experimentation, where your results are not localized into one workflow execution. So say you're running a bunch of tests across a bunch of different executions, and imagine a future state where you can like visualize the results of those executions somehow. So this would be step one in supporting that sort of use case, where you can specify a tag somewhere, and after the fact, you can grab all the executions belonging to that tag. I actually haven't read this in a while, so I don't have too much context on
Things
specific
like this
proposal.
exist, for example, for like ML metadata. So like 1TB, for example, you can tag a run with something and then filter based on tags. So I think that's kind of a natural. We do that basically by now linking to 1TB and then grouping by tags there. So it's a kind of a natural extension to just do it in the orchestration engine.
Yep.
We've also built the workaround, so it would be nice. Also, similar with tags in Neptune for that matter, but.
Yeah. So just your use cases here, do they reflect the like ML use cases, or are there any others that you can think of or you've
Like
seen?
ours are certainly ML experimentation, like just grouping runs together that belong to a certain trial.
Yeah,
Cool.
Same here.
Cool.
Actually, we built a workaround for naming executions because that was an important thing to us. We have our own kind of registration script that does something very similar, like PyFlyte register and run combined. Basically, we copied the code that's run in there. But we, for example, determine the version automatically because we don't want people to mess that up, and also like the project. And part of that is that you can override the execution name, because when we have, I don't know, like 20 engineers that all run their pods in a few namespaces, then it gets quite cluttered to find yours. So overriding execution name so that you can just find your pod easily is something we already do. So I would argue that's an important thing.
Awesome.
Got it. Thank you. Anything else around system tags? Nope. Okay, and the next one on the list is, more recent, the array node for functionally complete map task.
Yeah, I can talk about this one a little bit. Everybody that used a map task has been upset about it at some point or another. So right now, map tasks, if anybody's diving into the code, are implemented as a separate plugin in the backend, the K8s array plugin. This has kind of been a legacy thing that was never meant to scale, and then people started using it and added X and Y and Z. And so the fix to this is to add array node as just a core component in Flyte workflows, where basically here's a node and there is a subtask that is defined by another node type. And then we handle this in propeller level. So the motivation outlines a number of different things that don't work in the current map task implementation that people frequently run into or ask for. Implementation details, all that stuff is not very sexy, but kind of the key takeaway is if we do this, map tasks will work how people think they should work. You can then map over any plugin type, not just like pods, containers, any kind of Kubernetes. And additionally, you can map task over any node. So if you're feeling a little bit wiry, you could map task over dynamic tasks or sub workflows or anything like that. So functionally complete, can you do anything with a map task that you think you want to be able to do? That's kind of the idea.
Thank you for the intro. Any comment, question?
I guess just a minor naming thing is, I guess, if it supports mapping over anything, should it be called map something else besides map task?
Can I loop over sub workflows with it?
Yeah, you could use a sub workflow then in the map task and whatever else. Yeah, I mean, like legacy naming, we're not going to change Flyte Kit, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's true.
yeah,
No,
it has to be backwards compatible, but like we could expose a map there, Flyte
Right.
Kit map, you know,
Right.
just to make it things more like intuitive.
Yeah.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
keep map task there.
Sure. Yeah. I don't feel strongly about this. I mean, it's the same kind of thing as dynamic tasks, which are dynamic nodes,
Yeah, but they're
but they start a workflow, you know, so certainly happy to change naming to whatever we agree upon.
Can you map over a map task?
You could map over another map task. Mapception.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Any other comment about?
I would have one little small question. Sorry, I've also not read it. I'm also not well prepared. We'll do next time. Will the interface change so that you can like map over? Will the interface be the same, or is it, because a lot of the stuff that we do at the moment is we have a prepare map task kind of thing that like groups inputs and then does a lot of stuff to get the map task to work. Whereas sometimes like a partial or like a partial or a zip functionality kind of in Flyte would be cool. Well, it's hard to do though. I know for some stuff.
I think Eduardo and you might be able to talk about like partials a little bit more. There's been a lot of discussion internally here about that. As part of this proposal for like, you know, the array node stuff, multiple inputs is something that, you know, a lot of people ask for frequently. Where like you have, you know, two separate lists that are of equal length. You have a function that takes A and B, and you know, take index 0 from both of them and iterate over that. So that should be included into here. And then I know, like I said, you guys probably talk about more, but the idea of implementing a partial into Flyte Kit so that you can have like a constant variable as well. So if you have, you know, 3 parameters, double list, and then a constant can be the third one. Not sure if that's going to take part of this RFC implementation as well, but the idea of a partial for constants.
Yeah, so I think the idea is to match, you know, Python's map semantics to, you know, map or map task, so that it becomes more ergonomic to use, you know.
Yeah, fully agree. We actually switched to dynamic tasks in at least one use case because it was API wise, it was just better to understand with just the list comprehension, you know, and so on. Yeah.
No, that's pretty cool. We are funding the work to, you know, both add partials or partial support for map or map tasks, and also this idea of having like multiple lists or multiple parameters, so that, you know, if you're coming from Python, it will look or feel exactly the same.
Cool.
Awesome. Great. Right. Seems like that's it in terms of open or in-flight RFCs, unless there is anything else in that regard. We could move over to the next item. Much related, the proposal or the proposed improvements or updates to the RFC process. Let me show it this way. Basically, what we are doing right now, it needs even more structure. And the goal with this updated process is to maintain the kind of the lazy consensus structure in decision making, but also giving the technical steering committee the responsibility and the privilege to vote on proposals, and also to define when to RFC, when not to RFC, kind of the process on how it should work. All this takes inspiration from the Python enhancements process, the PEP process basically, and the Rust RFC process, among others. And the acceptance criteria and what should happen after an RFC is accepted or not. So feel free to give it a read. At least I hope you like the Leslie Lamport quote, or I'm sure that Eduardo will like it. And
Thank you.
but yeah, in any case, it's again an attempt from a different corner to keep the innovation speed, but also trying to add structure and make sure that there's just enough discussion for a proposal to get to the project or to be rejected or whatever. So feel free to check it out, because probably with the resulting end product, we will be also adapting what we do in these meetings. Yeah, at least, is there any comment right now about this one?
Just
Hey,
tag
David.
myself as a reviewer and also tag you, Bennett. I hope that was okay.
Thanks.
I will need to read it after the meeting.
Okay.
David?
Yeah.
I think the only comment I thing I would change maybe is, like, I write a lot of the maybe initial stages of the RFC on Google Docs, and then for comments there, because I find that process easier, and then only port over when, like, basically all is said and done. So I don't know how.
Yeah. Well, what we're doing right now here is before creating an RFC PR is using, for example, the RFC incubator that Niels created. It's a GitHub discussion. Yeah, no, there's Google Docs is also there for comments, etc. But the discussion probably could have a bit lower barrier for anyone to just go there and add a comment or ask questions about the idea before it turns into an RFC. And there are some places where we should discuss those ideas before recommending, hey, just now it's time to open an RFC, or we don't think this is a good fit for an RFC.
But thank you.
Cool. Great. Awesome. And yeah, a couple of things before we call it. I'll be creating an issue so anyone can comment there. The idea is to define a set of a short list of special interest groups. Probably that comes first, way before working groups. I've left a couple of links there to dig deeper, but basically 6 is a way to create kind of a community inside the community with a more focused interest on different things. Ketan has mentioned some ideas on 6, large model 6, integration 6, etc. And also working groups are a bit different because they tend to be short-lived. I don't know, a quarter with a specific goal, a group of people, and a set of milestones. That's it. So it's typically used for documentation, revamping, and more stuff that is traversal to the project. But that comes at a later stage. But right now it will be interesting to start defining 6 because we know that out there in this community there are folks with experience on different use cases, verticals, etc. So gather these people probably will unlock even more ideas. So I will create an issue and post it in the contribute channel so anyone can comment about this. And unless there's any other comment right now. And a PR spotlight. This one, I think it's really interesting because it's an effort from community members outside the maintainers team to improve the user experience. So basically adding GPU support for the sandbox deployment options. There are some challenges there, as Ketan mentioned, for example, the lack of GPUs in our CI systems, etc. But it's again interesting. Feel free to go there, comment, etc. Because I think it's a good example of the community taking ownership and trying to help where they can. So kudos to those contributors.
Yeah, one small comment on this. We discussed this internally. You know, this could be as light touch as just like maintaining the Docker dev files containing a GPU and like the couple scripts, but like really leaning super heavily on the community to like size it, you know, run it.
Okay, cool. Great. Anything else you want to comment, discuss here?
I would have a short technical question. I think there were talks about switching to a monorepository at some point. Is this happening, or just also to know, like in terms of contributions?
No, totally. Great question. Still in the cards. It's happening, but really the expectation is that this is not going to affect people in the OSS like at all. We're not going to be opinionated about like the build system. Like they're not adopting Bazel. Like it'll be really a couple of make files, and that's it. But we should probably talk, Bernard. Like if you probably have good ideas about this monorepo, or what are you thinking about it?
No, I was mostly curious whether, for example, I don't know, I was thinking about maybe contributing like a test set or something, and whether that's like too big of a change to do before this happens or after, or like kind of more on that like timeline side of things.
Thank you, Bernard. Right. Anything else?
Like I want to extend on the point that I brought up in the beginning, the code owners file. Should we maybe create teams in GitHub that reflect kind of the teams in this? I forgot the name of the document. I'm sorry, I'm really tired. Like the, you know what I mean. I'm sorry, my brain starts to shut down already. But basically, you create GitHub teams and then have these teams in the code owners file, because I think what I need to figure out for myself right now is how to navigate this stuff besides work. And having notifications that work well, I think will do like half of the job for me. And
yeah, no,
we use that at work. It makes sense to use it here, I would say.
With the caveat that like we don't have a lot of movement yet on like the number of RFCs or even like GitHub discussions. So maybe creating these teams prematurely like now might not help you a lot, but you know,
Well,
definitely sure.
Yeah, but I second what Fabio proposes, but because yeah, probably right now we don't have much in terms of proposals, but it's good to prepare beforehand, and also yeah, to have some practical implementation of what's in the maintainers file in terms of privileges, permissions, etc. That could certainly speed up things when needed. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Great. Any other question?
Last point. Is there any chance we can move this to 2 hours earlier?
Yeah, well, I was thinking, yeah, great point. I was thinking of having even on alternate schedule because yeah, in the past I've seen this for communities with very wide time zones. Probably what will work is to have the meeting a week in this time zone, and next week in a more user-friendly time. Because yeah, for the trying to manage the schedule for everyone who's here, the only slot that had the most votes was this one, but I know it's late in Europe, so yeah, probably I will submit this to vote in the channel to see what we want to do. If we want to move this one 2 hours later, or we want to try to have alternate schedules.
I mean, I think like I like the group of people here. I think the discussions can be interesting. And for me personally, if it was 2 hours earlier, that would basically be the end of my workday, and I'm just happy to like stay another hour at the computer. So 7 p.m. would be perfect for me. It doesn't have to be alternating then even. But that's just speaking for me. Other people here need to, of course, speak about that too. And they also understand that this is like the middle of your workday, so that there are constraints from that, obviously.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, we want to make sure that the majority feels included. And yeah, we'll discuss this, I think, a bit more in the channel to see.
Yeah, totally agree with Fabio here, but yeah, I'm also in the European time zone. It's the same for me, basically.
Yeah.
Same here. But work for a US-based company, so I hang around in the evening a lot, anyways.
I guess we're
But
moving this.
I don't.
Same here. I also work for a US company, so. But I mean, we're lucky, right? Because we like, I think we're all like West Coast and all Central European time. So we also do this at work, and kind of in the morning your time, evening our time. That I guess that will only become complicated once we have somebody in Asia. Then will be like tricky. But right now, I think we can make this work without an alternating schedule.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, we'll check it out. Awesome. Thank you everyone for joining, for your questions, your contributions. I think it was a great meeting. I hope to see you in the next one.
Awesome. Thanks everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.